Well, hello, everybody, and welcome. Thank you for listening to the show today. I am joined by my guest, Dr. Rachel Beanland. Hi, Rachel.
Hi, thanks for
Yes,
having me. I'm
That,
excited
yes,
for this conversation.
yeah. So, Rachel is a public health doctor, physician coach, and importantly, a mindfulness and meditation teacher. So, just to catch the attention of those that are listening and can think of someone who might want to listen to this episode or you might want to share it with, I love this part that you shared, a resilient physician coach. So I just want to share a little bit that I had read about you on your journey, being rooted now in passion for integrating mindfulness into every aspect of your medical career, and with your focus on supporting doctors to build flexible, fulfilling careers. You have combined being a physician coach and a mindfulness teacher, to just create unique career paths that just, I think, are going to be so valuable for people who listen to this. That's a beautiful segment of the market that you are helping and working with. And I know that you work with some basically evidence-based tools and some strategies that you use to just help your clients dream bigger, navigate transitions, and embrace the careers that allow for both personal fulfillment and professional impact. But I know that we're talking about the medical industry, and I mean I think more than just doctors can be listening to this, nurse practitioners, nurses, anybody who works in that field, around medicine and with people. But many doctors, I'm sure that you relate to this, feel like they're on a fixed career path, and they think that, oh, breaking away from this traditional mold to create something, unique, that still feels fulfilling. But I'd love to hear a little about your journey because you've found your own unique path. So do tell us, how did that happen?
Well, thank you. That's a beautiful introduction. And it really does encompass so much of what I love to share with the world. And you're right, a lot of it is a reflection of my own journey. And I think anyone who's out there who has followed a career where they have that goal, they always know they're going to become something, it's a very vocational career going into healthcare. You're going to become a doctor, you're going to become a nurse, you're going to become a nurse practitioner, and you have a very set pathway for you. And that can be fantastic. It can give you all of those steps, it can keep you moving in the right direction. But what it can also do is really make you feel like there are very few options outside of that. And so when that pathway doesn't quite gel with your life, it can feel quite uncomfortable and it can feel quite difficult, lonely sometimes. It can be very uncomfortable and challenging to find other alternatives. And that's where I found myself. So I started in clinical medicine. I had a very exciting, very busy beginning to my career in my 20s and in my early 30s. And lots of it I loved, but
Mm-hmm.
I was always looking for the next step. And I could never
Mm,
see it. I could never really see the people around me who I wanted to be like. And at the same time, I wasn't really creating the life I wanted. My work was really everything. It was like taking
right.
over
That
100%. The
that
balance just
balance.
wasn't there. It just wasn't
Right.
there. And
Yeah.
I really wasn't able to look after my own health or wellness, particularly my emotional health. And I think for me, those two things meant that I got to a point where I felt really stuck. I knew I wanted to make a change in my career. I knew I wanted to, for me, it was really about working in global health, thinking a bit more broadly about health
Okay.
in general and looking
Right.
outside of where I was. But I also knew I wanted a life that gave me more than just my career. I wanted a
Mm,
life where I felt more purposeful, more conscious of what I was doing. And that for me was that moment. And so many of my clients come to me at that moment. They feel very stuck. They don't quite know
right.
what is the next step, but
Right.
they feel something slightly out of line. And so for me, this happened probably about 15 years ago was my real transition.
Okay.
um, I transitioned out of clinical work. So I stopped seeing patients one to one and I started to
Mm-hmm.
do much more public health. So more population level health, looking at prevention, looking at more holistic approaches to health, and moving into things like research and policy and working at that level.
Mm.
But at the same time, I think what really happened for me is I realized that instead of looking outwards for answers, I had to kind of look inwards. And this was the real work for me. And this is why I'm so passionate about sharing mindfulness and those tools with people, because at the same time as that journey of changing my career, actually, what I really was able to do is start learning those tools, those practices of being more mindful, of being more connected to what was going on, to being more connected to my needs, to my values, to the way I wanted to show up every day. And that is really what I believe has enabled me to continue making changes in my life, and I've
Right.
continued to do that in my career. I've made different changes. I've moved countries. We were just chatting about,
Yes.
where life has taken us outside of the countries that we started off in and grew up in. And I believe those tools have really given me the ability to stay grounded throughout change and throughout
Mm,
challenges that have come along. And that's why I'm so passionate about supporting other health professionals and doctors to really think about their careers, yes, think about how they can make those changes, but see their career as part of their life, see all of those other
mm.
elements, and really find that balance with everything that they want to bring into their life, not just their career and not just that sense of being a doctor.
And I think what is so beautiful, and I'm listening to as you share this, is that you didn't give up. You didn't go, okay, I am done. I cannot do this industry anymore, no matter you poured all of that into what you'd been doing. And that turning inwards, as you say, because we can put exterior pressure and live up to expectations of so many other people. But when we start to look inside, look what a beautiful path it's taken you on, that you move, but you stayed within your industry. And then that realization that, wow, this could have been a burnout, could have been a breaking point. And that we have that power, which is so, so important, of coming back to now, coming back internally into present, to allow hope. Because that's also what I'm hearing in that is, there's hope ahead if you can bring these things into a bigger circle.
Yeah, yeah, totally. And I find that actually, when I work with a lot of doctors, they often come to me thinking that they might want to leave the profession. And
Mm,
actually, most of them don't. So I often say that
which is
to people who,
wonderful.
yeah, which is fantastic, right? Because,
Right.
we've all trained a long time. We've all got a huge passion that led us to go into this career in the first place. And actually, what I find is the majority of people need to refine their passion. They need to
Mm,
reconnect with those values. They need to kind of find those tools again to take them on a different path. And that
right.
path might look very different for everyone and can look very unique, which is what I love to promote, is that sort of uniqueness, so, that we don't have to follow a set path. We can create that unique career, but actually retaining and using all those skills and all those
Right.
amazing years of experience in a way that means you can go to work and you can come home and feel fulfilled, but you
Mm,
also feel passionate about other things in your life, and you can also be really truly present. And I think that's something that mindfulness is so helpful with, is really being present in whatever you're doing, whether that's being present in work and being present in that interaction, or being present with your loved ones and really being there, which is something I think a lot of people struggle with, particularly in
right.
the world we live in at this moment in time,
The
with so
pace.
many
Yeah.
distractions and
Mm-hmm.
everything. But that is where I really believe mindfulness can be so helpful, because it's that being really present in what you're doing and bringing that quality in.
And the beauty of that, of course, is that the benefit for the patient or whoever you are giving out to, I mean, if you are moving into research or doing something more in the public health, there's a gift that you're giving to the world if you can look for the gift inside. But I'm sure doctors struggle with that guilt or that identity shift is like, I'm not supposed to do this. I'm supposed to just press on, and I just should have the ability within me to cope. Um, so, what are the typical challenges that you find when they reach that stage and they go, and they might want to give up? How do you help them navigate that? What is it? So some of the
Yeah.
first things that come up, if they need a complete shift, but they want to stay in medicine, how do you
Yeah.
explore that with them?
Yeah. So I think some of the things that come up, one is really expectations. Often
Mm,
it can be internal expectations on what we think we should do, but also external expectations on what other people view you as and what they believe you should do. And the other big thing that comes up for people is fear. It's like fear of uncertainty, fear of the unknown. Can I do anything else? What will happen if this doesn't work? Am I going to be able to make any money doing something different? What will it look like?
right. Mm,
So, a big part of what I do with my clients to really start their journey is that acknowledgement, the acknowledgement of what is actually going on right now. And, what is that feeling that is making you feel stuck? What are those reasons that your environment at work or at home or in your life is not aligned? What are the things that are going on that you would like to remove? And really acknowledge those fears that are coming up, really acknowledge where those expectations are coming up, which can be difficult to do. It can be very uncomfortable. It often involves a lot of emotions and sometimes, tears and very, very heavy, like releasing, I think. But it
yes,
can be so freeing to actually be honest about
right.
where you are right now, because
Yeah.
it can be very difficult. And I think anyone will probably recognize this, that when they're at work, it can often be very difficult around your colleagues to say,
Hmm.
I'm not sure I like this, or I'm
Right.
looking at a different job. We all have that sort of
It's
fear
like,
of like, yeah, what will someone think of me? So that is the biggest step, really, is that kind of
mm,
acknowledgement of what is going on, what are those fears, and really picking into those fears so that we can start to find ways to see the solutions and the
mm,
steps that people can take. And the big thing that I love to work with people is getting really clear on that why and
yes.
trying to let the what come, because the what is obviously really important. That
Mhm,
what of, what job are you going to do? How much is it going to pay you? What does it look like? How many days are you going to work? All those things
mhm,
are really important. But if you don't have that connection to the why, it's very hard to identify those what's. So I work a lot with people on really connecting to their inner why, that real purpose. And I love to talk about Dharma, which is, that sense of that purpose in our lives and
yes,
really
yes.
connecting to what that is, because that sometimes can get lost in
I was
this
just going to
race.
say it sort of gets
Yeah.
hidden, it gets pushed down, and just what you were
Yeah.
sharing about acknowledging these emotions, and especially even at work, it's push the fear aside, push the uncertainty aside. I shouldn't be feeling this. And I'm thinking as I'm listening to you, giving people time. This is not a thing to rush through, even with coaching with you. I'm sure that it's a process because it's like unpeeling the
Yeah.
layers, and then sometimes you've kind of got to put them back on again. And it's almost a loop, isn't it? You sort of go with hope, and then fear comes in, and then you hope again, and then fear comes back in, and realizing that's going to happen, but almost having a sense of curiosity is, well, let's see. And then they've got you to journey with them. Is let's explore this with curiosity because you've been there.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
And that's why I love coaching, because for me, that coaching space, when I had coaching myself, and I still have coaches at various times in my life and different challenges that come up and,
Mm-hmm.
business creation, etc. But
Absolutely.
but I think providing that space for people where they can have that respect, that trust, they build that relationship, and most importantly, they have that accountability. And I
Yes.
think that that's how people do their best thinking, because I know from my own experience, that was what was really helpful for me at pivotal moments in my life. So that's what I love to provide for people, is that space where they can go deeper into what is going on, get that clarity on their why, the clarity on what their skills are, their expertise, where their passions really lie, and also have that space to start actioning, to actually start putting little steps in motion that they can, actually make steps towards their goals. And like you
Mm.
say, it does mean that you're peeling off those layers, and it does take time. And I think, I'm sure you would say this too, that actually I often work with people for quite some time. So my
Right.
initial program is 4 months, which I say is like
Okay.
a good step to get over that initial kind of block
Mm-hmm.
of time, but it's very intense. I like to work with people every week so that we
Right.
get that momentum.
Yes.
And then often my clients will carry on. we often have a continued relationship because it takes time to
Right.
implement and make
Right.
changes,
Yeah.
and I think that can often be in the world we live in, where often we look for immediate solutions.
Yes.
We want immediate answers. But
Right.
actually, I would say any coaching for me is definitely, when I've had coaching and the way I like to coach people, I really think that ongoing relationship makes a big difference. I think
Absolutely.
that can actually
Mm.
be where the magic comes. I don't know if
Mm.
you feel the same with your
No,
coaching.
I do. The longer that you build that relationship, and I think the other thing that I find personally for myself is that when that confidence starts to come from recognizing your why and exploring, then creativity sets in. And creativity is another form of happiness. So, it all just blends and ties together so beautifully. So it's the awareness. It's and I guess the same thing as for your clients is realizing that they can partner with somebody and that they can make a change.
Yeah.
And it does, you don't have to do it alone. That how important it is to have a safe space of someone that you can slowly open up with, explore, build confidence, get creative, yeah, and realign with the passion because why not?
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's so beautiful. Well, thank you so much for all this lovely inspiration that you've shared with our listeners. If somebody was wanting to add mindfulness into their lives, and it was kind of still a little foreign to them, they weren't really, what would be one small step that you would recommend to get them started?
I love that. I love that question. I think for me, the easiest time I find to add some mindfulness is the first moment that you wake up.
Mm,
Because for most people, and I know if you have very young children, this may be a bit different, but for most people, as they wake up, they have that moment of realizing the day is starting. And so I would love to invite people to take that moment to connect to themselves. And the breath is a really beautiful way to do that. So by just noticing your first breath that you take in and just connecting to it and just feeling it and then letting that
right.
breath go again. And I think that can be a beautiful way to start just really noticing what is going on and bringing yourself to that present moment, because I love, really beautiful mindfulness in my own life. But I think making it really simple for people is a great way to start adding in those small moments and to find those practices that really work for you. And I think that first thing in the morning can just be so helpful to set the day off, give you that positive start to your day and know that you've connected to yourself in that moment in time.
Mm-hmm. Mm. And I'd love to add to that because I think that is critical starting your day off, on the right foot, that you're starting with a win, but also to remind people that at the end of their day, remember to celebrate yourself. Think back and just grab something out of your day and celebrate yourself. Not, oh, what have I got on my to-do list for tomorrow? Yeah, just come back something that you have done. Ground yourself in celebrating you.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
wonderful.
Yeah.
So I'd love if my listeners want to connect with you. Where is the best place to find you?
Yeah, so by all means, please connect with me. You can go to my website, which is resiliencephysiciancoaching.com. And you can also find me on Instagram, which is Dr. Rachel Beanland. So I'll
One,
send you those links so you can share those, Carol.
fantastic, Rachel. I'll make sure to have those in the show notes. And then I know that you do have a meditation that people can find on your website.
Yeah. So meditation for me has been a big tool in
Mm-hmm.
terms of reconnecting to myself. And it's also a tool that I use to help me navigate all the ups and downs of life. So I really love to share meditation with my clients. And so the meditation that you can access on my website is a healthy boundaries meditation, which I
Ooh.
find is very, very helpful for most people, actually. But
Mm-hmm.
most people that I work with really struggle with implementing healthy boundaries. So if you're someone who wants to think about prioritizing your own needs and you'd love to try a meditation, it's a short guided meditation. So you'll hear my voice talking to you. And it's a really nice way to start to see if meditation is a tool that can help you also to bring more mindfulness into your day as well.
Wonderful. Well, I agree with you that it's certainly in the boundaries. We could have got into a whole other conversation to
Yeah.
extend that. that as well is important. But Rachel, thank you once again for being my guest. And I look forward to seeing you out on the website and on Instagram. And I'll make sure that our listeners know where to get hold of you. And I hope they stop by and listen to that meditation.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for inviting me. It was really wonderful to have this conversation with you.
Thank you.